he did not need a license or registering his car, but he was always told you cannot drive a car with a license because you must have a license to be in that type of a car. Well, that isn't really true because the U.S. Supreme Court has said otherwise, but we'll get into that later. The U.S. Supreme Court made it clear that the term for hire is the only term for transportation. Transportation means, 1, removing people and or property. 2, from here to there, one place to another. 3, for hire. 4, under the choice of law of the place called this state. Now I'm going to go to the next one, which will give you a very interesting thing. California Revenue and Tax Code, Section 6017. In this state or in the state means within the exterior limits of the state of California. What is the exterior limits of the state of California? I'll give you that information shortly. And includes all territory within these limits owned by or ceded to the United States of America. What does that say? If the United States of America owns the territory that you live in, that is the exterior limits of state of California. So anything that is not owned by or ceded to the United States of America is within the limits of California state. And I do not like using state of California. I prefer saying California Republic or California state. So in a lot of my paperwork, that was one of the things I did. This term applies to all codes unless specifically stated otherwise. So in the code, they have to state in that code that this is other than being part of the United States of America. Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 12th edition, 1876. Driver, one employed in conducting a coach, carriage, wagon, and or other vehicle with horse, mules, or other animals. 2, frequent accidents occur in consequence of the neglect or of want of skill of drivers of public stagecoaches, for which the employers are responsible. 3, the law requires that a driver should possess reasonable skill and be of good habits of the journey. If therefore he is not acquainted with the road he undertakes to drive. And this came from 3 Bingham. Case starts on page 314, and the quote came from 321. Now, Bingham was the reporter back before they had stenographers who wrote everything down on a machine. They had people who wrote down the what went on in a case, and they would then use their the beginning of their last name as who did that particular case. So that is how that works. See, common carriers of passengers. So driver has to do with common carriers of passenger. Operative, a workman, one employed to perform labor for another. Bouvier's. Valentine's Law Dictionary, 3rd edition, 1969, operators for hire. Any person who owns, controls, operates, or manages any motor vehicle for hire for the transportation of persons or property on any business of leasing motor vehicles for a compensation for the transportation of persons or property upon the public highways. That came from Louisville Taxicab and Transfer Company versus Blayton. And I didn't have a date on that. And they actually put in the definition, it is a statutory definition. Operator's license, a license to operate a motor vehicle, required as a condition of right to drive such a vehicle. And I think they misplaced whatever that was supposed to be, meaning it was on the public highway. That's 7 American Jurisprudence, 2nd edition, under automobile, section 93. Amateur is an encyclopedia of court cases. Heritage Dictionary. Now, I got this off of something I had that I had downloaded several years ago. License. 1, official or legal permission to do or own a specific thing. See synonymous with permission. B, proof of permission granted, usually in the form of a document, card, plate, or tag. A driver's license. Number 2, deviation from normal rules, practices, or methods in order to achieve a certain end or effect. Poetic license. Latitude of action, especially in behavior of speech. See synonymous with freedom. 4A, lack of due restraint, excessive freedom. When liberty becomes license, dictator is near. Will Durant. B, heedlessness for the precepts of proper behavior. And I think this is called litigiousness. I do have a problem. My brain sometimes doesn't work correctly because I am brain damaged. And so I was very fortunate to be able to actually say that. Remember, the legal definition of license is a permit to do something that would otherwise be illegal. Remember also that legalese only gives enough information to place the inquirer off balance and believe the intended meaning of the person defining the word, quite often to the believer's injury. United States Code, Title 18, Section 31A, 6. It states, the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highway in the transportation of passengers and property or cargo. At Section 31A.10, it further clarifies the phrase, the term used for commercial purpose means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. California Vehicle Code, And I put the where I got that information, and it's http legalinfo legislative.ca.gov. And this is section 260. A commercial vehicle is a motor vehicle of a type required to be registered under this code, used or maintained for the transportations of persons for hire, compensation, or profit, or design, used or maintained primarily for the transportation of property. So that is what a motor vehicle is. All of those you get paid to transport persons or property. Now, passenger vehicles that say not used for transportation of persons for hire, compensation, or profit are not commercial vehicles. What does that say to you? Any van pool vehicle is not a commercial vehicle. Interesting. And Valentine's Law Dictionary, 3rd edition, commercial vehicle, a motor vehicle used other than for pleasure or private conveyance of the owner. That's out of 7th volume, Amger 2nd, Auto, section 69. Now, this came from the state of California Department of Motor Vehicle. This is their history. And do you believe their history? Well, let's see whether or not they're being honest. The history of the Department of Motor Vehicle. More than any other invention, the automobile has had a significant impact on all aspects of life in California. Initially referred to as a horseless carriage, the automobile presented many challenges for the state. And the first 50 years of automobile legislation were focused on creating laws, rules, and guidelines to help ensure that all Californians would be safe on the road. I'm wondering if that is really true. Well, let's see what the U.S. Supreme Court said. A carriage is particularly a family or household article. It contributes in a large degree to the health, convenience, comfort, and welfare of the household or of the family. Arthur versus Morgan, 1884. So, the woman that had this carriage, she lived in New York, and this one year she decided she was going to go to France. So she took her carriage to France with her. When she went to come back 2 years later, she brought the carriage back with her. And when she got into the port, they charged her a tax for that particular item. And so they said, well, we're charging this tax. So she ended up going to court. It took her from 1979 until 1984 to get it resolved, but they had to give her tax money back because it was considered a household article or a something that it was for the health of the family. So after that, the Supreme Court in Arthur versus Morgan, and I cited omitted, held that carriages are properly classified as household effects And we see no reason that an automobile should not be similarly disposed of. That was in Hill House versus United States, Second Circuit, 1907. History, initial registration, and licenses. In 1901, California law authorized all cities and counties to give licenses for bicycles.
Hello, everyone. You've been listening to a recorded segment from Don't Fear the DMV, our premier free traveler course on commonerlaw.com's website, available to you. We'll say more about that later, but thanks so much for being here. I've been super excited myself about this event. Tonight is the first of our monthly confabs for free travelers. We all recognize that our freedom, each one of us, we have our freedom is tied up in the freedom of others. And particularly when it comes to exerting your rights on the roads, it's not something you want to do by yourself. So we've created a free traveler movement here, and we want to join people to spread the word and get on board with us so that we eventually can end this whole fraud, the vehicle code fraud. Thanks for being here tonight, everyone. It's going to be a wonderful 2 hours of just getting to know each other, mostly. More and more people will be showing up, hopefully, as the minutes come past here, these initial minutes. But I really thank you for being here and being on time. We're going to hear from David James Rodriguez and Sue Ann Caesar, our free traveler specialists, and we're going to hear from you tonight and every month on our monthly free traveler confab. We are going to focus on you. This is the one time every 2 months, 2 hours every month that you get to shine. You get to tell us what's going on with you, what experiences you've had during the month, maybe a run-in with a law enforcement officer on the roadway, or some court proceedings that you might be involved with to get them to go away and stop trying to collect fines from you for something that you are not guilty of, or whatever your experiences are. A lot of people are coming to this conversation for the first time in their lives. It's interesting that travel is one of the most fundamental rights we have, and yet most people, when they jump into a car, they don't think twice about it. They will have gone through the trouble of standing in line at the DMV and getting their license, taking the test and all that stuff, and registering their automobile and getting insurance and checking all the boxes so that you can just go down to the grocery store. Well, we're starting to change that paradigm here, and it's because of brave people who have come before us. There are people who are actively engaged in avoiding and declaring themselves free and not subject to the vehicle codes in their states. And we're going to hear all about that tonight. And hear from you again, as I said before. Get ready to tell us what it's like for you, what you're learning, what you know, what you want to share with the rest of us. The whole point here is to create some community. So first, though, I want to introduce you. If you haven't met David and Sue Ann, I'll make sure everyone gets a chance to meet them right away and find out a little bit about them. David and Sue Ann and I have recently completed our premier course called Don't Fear the DMV, and that's available for purchase, the home version of it, the self-study version. And we'll tell you more about what that includes. But for now, just know that these two are definitely the leaders that we have. They've both been out there bucking the system, so to speak, and they've come back to tell us what they've learned and what they've accomplished in the process. So hi, David. Hi, Sue Ann.
Hello there, Clint.
Hello, Clint and everybody. Well, it's good to see you all, and Clint and Sue Ann and everyone here that's live and recorded afterwards. Yeah, I'm really grateful we were able to co-create the Don't Fear the DMV course, which is exciting. And if you haven't taken that course, do take it and learn a little bit about the history, the paperwork, some of the case law. And then what this is about, why I'm excited, is this monthly confab gathering is to come share what is working, what you tried, because there's textbook learning, and then there's in the real world learning. And so this is an area where we can say, this is what worked for me, this is what didn't work, because we're dealing with organized criminals, and I call them the hyper wealthy predator psychopaths. And this is not to say everyone in government is as such, but as Sue Ann's prelude to this opening, she goes through the definition of what a motor vehicle is, and what they say on their website about their own history. And I was amazed. I just learned about this right to travel information probably in the last 4 years. And I studied it for maybe 6 or 12 months. And then I started hanging out with my freedom friends, and we started seeing the tyranny. This is back in like 2015 or 16 with the forced vaccine issues. And we said, man, how am I contributing to the tyranny? What am I doing? I am being obedient. I am participating. So that's why I took my plates off, and I didn't have really community. And so I think that's what's really exciting now, is that whether you get a parking citation or a speeding or some other type of traffic related issue, this is where we can come and kind of, open our kimono metaphorically and say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm trying. We are dealing with a super thuggish organization and philosophy, which is we will put these codes on you, and it's up to you to refute them. And a lot of times, one of the things which I think I'm going to, get some value and contribute here is the fast track ticketing system out here in the Bay Area, Northern California. They literally send you an automatic ticket through the mail. And I'm like, okay, so I got to figure this out. Either I participate in their system, and sometimes we do, many of I have some court cases going on because of the right to travel stuff. So it's like, okay, I was targeted because of my activism. So, okay, so we have a community where we can now use the power of the many, the mastermind principle, which is many hands make light work. And you don't have to be everything all the time for yourself. You can actually learn, and we can contribute. And I think this is where humanity is going. We did mention about the Vax passport, and somehow it's connected to the driver's license, because the driver's license is such like a de facto assumption. They say, yeah, everybody's going to have it, so they're going to attach that to the driver's license. And that's what I see coming here. Maybe 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. I mean, it is moving like a freight train, in my opinion. But we do know that truth and freedom win. You can't fool all the people all the time. And that's what's so empowering about this community and this conversation is, okay, we don't have all the answers, but we do have people that were standing on the shoulders of giants from 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And Sue Ann's one of them. And, Fritz from his previous courses. And so we're learning how we can put this into effect and outnumber and overwhelm this machine, because we're not outnumbered. We've just been unorganized. And so thank you for the internet and for the video. And now we have chats, and we'll, discuss it, as the night goes on, but the Telegram group and these kind of things, my friends, let me tell you, we are on the winning side of history, which is freedom of choice, human dignity, human respect. We're allowed to travel. We don't need your permission, government. Okay. We don't need you, a permit to change our roof. We don't need a permit to grow vegetables in our yard, and with traveling as well. Now it's a process. It's an evolution of consciousness. And we are the people who are cutting edge. So I think it's very important to see yourself as visionaries. I know Sue Ann is, I know Clint is, and sometimes I think I am, but we are leading the way for freedom and equality, and do no harm against people or property. Don't initiate these types of things. And so we're going to be focused, I think, with freedom of travel. And who knows what else is going to come up in the conversation, because we are dealing with the end of a system of extortion and control that they can't stop the truth from getting out. It's like the Pandora's box or the genie in the bottle. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. And the fact is that government's supposed to serve us, and it's not been serving us. It's been extorting us and our life force for many generations. And we're here to come back and shine the light and bring the love and bring the truth and bring the honesty and integrity and understanding of the world that we live in. And I think that's why I'm really hopeful about this confab. Maybe a monthly conversation won't be enough, but we'll see. You know, it kind of depends on you and the community, and we're all, you know, working out there and being healthy and trying to, you know, thrive and survive. And so there's so many different issues, but right to travel, licensing, this stuff is very important. And I just want to, yeah, thank you for, you know, being here and being a part of what is a freedom community online. We can have understanding of our natural, unalienable rights to freedom, life, and liberty and property. And that's very exciting to me. So thank you for being here. Thanks, Clint, for producing and co-creating with us, and Sue Ann. And yeah, looking forward to the conversation tonight and kind of see what's on everybody's mind and what everybody's feeling and thinking as we move forward. So thank you very much. And Sue Ann, if you want to chat too, I'd love to hear your words also.
Okay. All right. I loved it when you brought up the issue of the camera ticket. And I've got the court, a court case on that issue, and they cannot put out a ticket by camera because an officer must have been there to see you do your whatever it was you did incorrectly. And so I've already got the court case on it. I've already passed it off already. So I think it's amazing the information they have out there. So yes, welcome everyone. Glad you came. I'm hoping we'll have more. There is so many things out there. The people kind of sat back and was more involved in what they could get and what they could manufacture, and having lots of time for fun and whatever, but they didn't pay attention to the government they created. And when they did that, what has happened is that government has just gone amok. And you have to understand that you do need to do something if you want your country. If you don't want your country, go about doing life the way it was, and the country will go another direction. But I have seen so many people recently who are definitely wanting to keep our country, because we are the only country in the entire world that has the right to do what we do, because we are the government. And I have a letter that I did in 1996, and in it there is 2 paragraphs where it talks about the government of America, and it talks about how from the time that the Revolutionary War, or the time that we fought Hitler, what we were attempting to accomplish. And what was that? Our freedom. And they keep saying, oh, we're sending people off to war, and that will take care of your freedom. Well, when you find out they went to war not for your freedom, but for money for the government, not for you. And they'll tell you one story and they do something else. Well, it's the same thing with driver's license. The letter that I talked about in 1996 was one on building permits. And if you own a home, okay, and you do not pay taxes, that means you actually own your home. But if you pay taxes, you have registered your land for the government. And anytime they want to take your property, like for not paying your taxes, they will do that. So, you know, these are things. So I did this wonderful letter. And in that process, unlike most of what's going on right now, I actually had not only the business manager fired, the city attorney was fired as well. So if you can get rid of someone and you can make it happen through a letter, it's amazing. And of course, it took the people who I did this for, and I had no idea who this guy was that I did. It took him 4 months to get around to tell me what had happened. And then that confused me. And then after that, I had my accident, and things just went on hold for at least 12 years. But I didn't quite get myself back into law until I met Fritz, and then Clint, and then of course David and Teresa and a whole bunch of wonderful other people in San Francisco. And then I was seeing my dream come true. And my dream is that we become free again, and that we no longer give our rights to that government. Now, of course, if you read some of the cases, they will say, well, you know, when you created the government, you gave your rights to that government. No, you did not. You gave them a limited number of rights in which they can do. And there's a wonderful case on that, and that is called Billings versus Hall. It's a California State Supreme Court, 1857, and the site in it is 7 Cal Report 1. And I absolutely love that case. I probably have read it probably 10, 15 different times. Of course, during my accident periods, it took me 12 years just to recover from my little injury, which wasn't so little. The hospital told my family that I had a 10% chance of living, but if I lived, I'd be a vegetable. And about a year ago, someone called me and told me I was a smart vegetable. And so this is what I want to do. So I am so grateful to be here, and I'm here to help anybody and everybody who is willing to take on the government officials. And Teresa is one of my favorite students, and she has been absolutely awesome. And every 2 or 3 times a week, she'll call me and tell me all of the great stuff she found while she was out doing her research. And research is really very, very important. And I found that when we were working with the San Francisco employees, we had a couple of people, and they never really double checked their court cases. And I try to do that on everything that I do, because if you get things over the internet, they will lie to you, just like the government. Why? Because we have what they call agent provocateurs, people who are out there to keep you believing in something that isn't so. And so whenever you get any court case, if you have not gone into that case and found the quote in that case yourself, you cannot believe it belongs in that with that case. And so to me, that is so, so important. So like I said, I am so grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward to what we put together in the next couple of months, because I think it's going to be awesome.
Thanks, Sue Ann. Yes, absolutely. So we brought together this confab, this confabulation, because we know that, again, our freedom is tied to one another. And lots of times we've gotten feedback, isn't there an opportunity to just get to know each other? And that makes perfect sense, since we're here to create, recreate We the People once and for all. And so it's important to know one another. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. It's really just getting to know each other. So for example, David and Sue Ann have already spelled out a lot of things. If we just use those points to start with for the conversation tonight, we can go for the remaining of the period, I'm sure. I have a couple of polls that I want to do also to get things going here. But like, for example, David, what did you refer to the cabal as, or
it's been a while because so some people call them the elite. I'm like, they are not elite.
Elite.
They are low vibrational people. They are
Mhm.
depressed with themselves. They have stacks of money and silver and gold, but they have no love in their heart. They have no appreciation, no gratitude for this experience. And so I stopped calling them elite a while ago, and I don't know what I evolved to is, okay, the criminals, the thugs, the bullies, and then they all have a lot of money. So anyways, the word is hyper wealthy, predator, psychopaths. I think that is an accurate depiction. It's not anti-human. It's not demoralizing. I think it's an accurate phrase. And as Confucius said, to call something by its correct term is halfway to wisdom. So yes, hyper wealthy, predator, psychopaths. That gives me a chuckle, and I think it just accurately depicts them. They're not elite. I will never call them that. The elite are probably on this call if you want to consider yourself like that, but I just consider ourselves to be equal, and we're all wealthy in our own ways, but we have some type of compassion in our hearts, and nobody's perfect, but we do want the best for each other. And myself, I do see each human as a brother or sister, part of the human family. And I used to think that's some like woo-woo stuff. And I realized, no, man, we're all connected. And the more I learn about consciousness, the more I learn about frequency, vibration, and what's really happening in the theory of life, right? Because this is all a great mystery. Then I think those are accurate terms. And again, using the accurate term, again, one of my buddies, I called him up. My buddy went to, the trucker convoy. And I said, how's the drive? And he says, how's the travel? I said, oh, yeah. Changing our language. We're not driving, we're traveling. And that might seem like a minute point, but I think it actually is a significant point, because these guys don't have authority over us. All they have is intimidation. They just have violence over us. And as we learn the paper game and some of these documents that Sue Ann's mentioned here in this first few minutes, it's like, I'm getting excited too, because this is about freedom. This is not just about somebody, lecturing. This is about collaborating, confabulating, the word there, which is new in my vocabulary, but it's like, it's coming together, because it really is. We link elbows with each other and we say, we stand for honesty. We stand for peace and for freedom. And anybody who tries to break that, I would consider to be a predator, psychopath. And that's what we call them. So that's what I would call it, at least.
Great. Yeah. So when it's your turn to talk, folks, amongst anything else you want to say, maybe you want to share with us the terminology you use. Is it cabal? Is it deep state? Is it parasites? Is it oligarchs? I mean, what is your term for it? Might be fun. Also, David brought up a whole other subject, which is languaging. It's very important that these
Very important.
they use language to trick us. That's usually how the fraud happens. Yes, intimidation is part of it, but then they keep us ignorant with wordplay. So that's also something if you wanted to discuss tonight. But let's start with a quick poll here. You've all been there. It's a quiet day and no one is anywhere near the intersection that you are approaching. The light is red, so you slow and you're fully ready to come to a stop. Are you someone who stops at the light and waits for it to turn green? Or are you someone who, seeing it safe, no one's around, continues through the intersection? By a show of hands, if you're someone who stops and sits and waits for the green light, go ahead and raise your hand now by pressing the reactions tab at the bottom of your screen and then selecting raise your hand. Be honest, it's okay. I've done it many times. I sit there and it usually takes me a minute to, why am I waiting here? That's what it is for me. I start, because it's habit, right, to stop. And then of course, the next thing I do is look around. Is there any police officer around, any highway patrol or what have you? And then I go, can I cross? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. That's how deep the conditioning goes. But look at how many hands are showed. Just honestly, you get there, you stop, you tell yourself, well, if I don't go on a red light. If I stay and wait for the green light, there's no chance I'll get in trouble. So good for that. And then for those of you who get to that red light, seeing it's safe, you go ahead and head on through. Go ahead and raise your hand now. So you can be proud. I'm a free traveler. I take the red light as a suggestion. It's a great device. It works to suggest to stop, and yet I can see with my own eyes it's safe, and I go ahead. Look how many fewer hands. That's very interesting. So thanks everyone for taking that poll. I'm going to jump into another poll real quick here. I'd like to know how familiar with this subject matter you already are. How familiar are you with free traveling? So the first answer is, I've never heard of it before. It's brand new to me. And then some people can answer, I've heard something about it. You're like, this sounds familiar, or I did see a video about that one time or something, but I don't really understand. Okay. And then there's those of you who definitely know about our freedom to travel, but usually just follow the rules. It's easier, it's more convenient. You know you're free to travel, but you just go along with the rules for whatever reason. Then there's those of you who know about our freedom to travel and try your best to not be subject to the vehicle code. Like when the red light is there and you just keep going because you see it safe. And then some of you know about our freedom to travel and are insistent that you will not be subject to these vehicle codes and you will not comply. And you've taken active steps to either opt out or to change your license plates or to just do whatever you can not to be subject. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll here in just a second. It looks like people have chimed in, so and I'll end the poll here and show the results to everyone. What do you think of those results?
Good. Interesting,
huh? Nice distribution. Special welcome to those of you who have never heard it before. That's something extraordinary that you decided to come check it out, and something caught your curiosity. We don't want to overwhelm you with too much information, but yes, as you may have already heard from our speakers, that you are not subject to the vehicle code unless you're an employee of the state or if you are using the roadway for commercial purposes.
Or a corporate official has to have one too.
Okay, great. So yeah, the law is very specific. Actually, when you read the vehicle code in your state, you will see to whom it applies. And I don't know of any exceptions. If you just are heading to the grocery store, you're just going for a drive, in the country, or you want to go visit your grandma, you don't need permission. You don't have to pay for a privilege when it is your God-given natural right since you were born. And so, yeah, we want to talk about tonight, especially for those of you who have never heard it before, or those of you who've heard a little about it. We know the common questions, of course, and anyone here is welcome to answer the common questions. When it's your turn to share or comment, you can tell people, what you know about the common questions. Well, how can we keep the roads safe if we don't have a driver's license? Or isn't that how we pay for the roads? Are the roads just going to fall into disrepair if we don't have that revenue? Or people often say, well, what about insurance? I mean, you have to get insurance, don't you? The difference between people who are insured because it's a smart thing to do versus people who are insured only because the statute's supposedly required of you and you're afraid of getting cited and punished and fined for getting caught not having it. So these are the distinctions that are important tonight. Again, thanks for taking that poll. Look at those results. That kind of tells you who we're with tonight. And so keep that in mind when you're sharing what's going on with you.
I do want to say something because I think this is a good time. One of my last ticket was for going through a red light, which I didn't. That was not true, but that's what the officer said. I saw 3 different officers all going the other way, so I didn't worry about it. So I went to court. They found me guilty. They charged me $800, and then I did an appeal, and I won on my appeal. They have not stopped me since then. And of course, until then, they didn't have a picture of me. And when they stopped me for that, they took me to jail. They took my pictures. They took my fingerprints. And you know what? I've never been stopped since. That was in 2009. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's right. So definitely we want to hear from people about your experience. When did you get your last ticket? What was it like for you? Did you pay it? I have a theory that they set the fines at just high enough that they keep making their money, but not so high that you're going to try to challenge it. It's just easier to pay it. Logically, if it's true that the state had a job or invested interest in making sure the roads are absolutely safe and that everyone followed the rules all the time, then they would fine you $3 million, right? And then no one would ever break any rules. But I think, first of all, people would complain about that amount, but also we'd also find out that just because everyone's following the rules, people still die on the roadways, people still get in crashes, people still, so it would ruin their whole scheme. But if they just set it at the right amount of money, that you will pay it. You just sort of like, shucks, I got unlucky this week. I got a ticket. Oh yeah, well, how much was it? Oh, well, yeah, I went ahead and paid it. But we have options for you too, by the way. The Commoner Law Group is teaching you how to use paperwork if you should get a ticket, so that it shuts down the courts from trying to pursue that matter with you. And we want everyone taking that approach. What's going on with you? What was the last ticket you got? How are you, Jackie?
I'm fine. How you guys doing?
Really
Yay.
good. How about you?
I'm amazing.
Good.
Anyway, my last ticket was 2020. I'm still fighting it. I have an appeal. I'll be in the appellate court on Thursday to fight this because these douchebags have been so corrupt and criminal. And I found some new information I wanted to share. Have you all heard of the 12 presumptions of court?
Wow, go ahead. Are you going to do all 12 with us, or how are you going to?
Well, what they are is another oath that the Bar Association they have allegiance to. So they have allegiance for 2 oaths. They're the one that to uphold the Constitution, and which is the officer of the state, and then the member of a private legal guild. And I found out why we have a lot of issues going to court with these traffic citations is because we don't rebut the 12 presumptions of the court because we don't know about it. And I just recently found this out last week before. Anyway, I've been eager to share because more people need to know about this. This, I believe, is what is really going to cause when people go and rebut this first, because they assume that you're a dodo.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Quickly, I'll read, if you don't mind. I wanted to share because this is really good information. The first presumption is a presumption of public record, is that any matter brought before a lower court is a matter of public record, when in fact it is presumed by the members of the private bar guild that the matter is a private bar guild business matter, unless openly rebuked and rejected by stating clearly that the matter is to be on public record. The matter remains a private bar guild matter completely under private bar guild rules. Now, all these are a hot mess. I'll just read them to you. The presumption of public service is the second one. The presumption of public oath is the third. The presumption of immunity is the fourth. The presumption of summons is the fifth. The presumption of custody is the sixth. The presumption of court of guardians is the seventh. The presumption of court of trustees is the eighth. The presumption of government acting in 2 roles as executor and beneficiary is the ninth. The presumption of incompetence is 11, and the presumption of guilt is 12.
Wow,
And
what presumption of guilt?
yes, yes,
That's because when you go to the court, they ask you to say, are you guilty or not guilty? And that is that's under the statute, and anybody who is in business is considered guilty unless they win their case.
they presume all this.
Uh-huh.
That's why if you don't go to court and rebut it, and like I said, I just found out, I just really got into reading it the other day. I looked it up, found out, started reading it, and I'm like, dang, I got court. I said, so I'm just going to go into court and I'll make sure with my oral argument, that's going to be the second or third sentence that I say, that for the record, I rebut the 12 presumptions of court. As they are by definition presumptions and have no standing or merit in presentable or material facts. So we can get that out of the way. And that's why we haven't been, a lot of us have not been winning. And I wish I had found this out. My first court case, I would have sent this in, signed, in affidavit form, and I wouldn't be here today going through a fourth freaking court case for a traffic infraction.
Right.
And just so everybody, give everybody history. The first judge, I wrote the judge a letter because it was COVID time. I wrote the judge a letter so I can tell her, hey, I'm having it, this is the situation. So I could avoid going to court. She decided, because there was a document I put in there, to send it to a counsel. Well, the counsel, I don't know what this is. She didn't understand it. So what she did, instead of looking it up to learn something new, she said she's going to just throw my documents away. Anyway, so after that, I wrote a letter to the presiding judge of LA, and I wrote a letter to Cantil up in San Francisco, and I sent the original judge the letter, and of course a copy to the counsel that was going to throw it out. So when I did, finally, long story short, I ended up making a court date. They said, don't come in, just send your papers in. I send my 2 documents in, one for conform copy, one for the court. I sent a self-addressed stamp envelope. Called 2 months later because I didn't get it back. Oh, we can't find it. I'll just bring it in the day you come. The day I go to court, I go in there. They're giving me a hard time. I give them the documents. I said, hey, I gave them the letter that you give to the clerks, the gatekeepers.
Right.
Anyway, this lady was like, oh, can I see your document? I said, oh, no, you're not going to take my document back there. And so I let her know. I said, the supervisor told me to bring them in and to file them today. So I told her the supervisor's name. The supervisor came out and she's like, oh, I don't recall. So I flip my pages and I go through and I say, yeah, I spoke to you on this date at this time and you told me this. He said, oh, I kind of remember. Then she tells me to go file them in the court, which was next door. I go to the court next door. I sit in there, ask, can I file them? No, well, we're calling numbers right now. So wait. So they tell me it's a pro tem. I said, no stipulation to pro tem. So then they send me outside. I go back to file my documents again with resistance. I finally filed them. The lady came back and said, oh, you have to come back either gave me 2 days to come back. I was supposed to have seen the judge then. I mean, it's full of due process of law violations. This is what I'm trying to share with you guys.
Yep.
So anyway, I come back the next week. The judge who I was supposed to see initially, I wrote the letter to, she's not here today. She had an emergency. So it's a pro tem again. I said, no stipulation. They sent me downstairs to another judge. She was just as nice, trying to kill me with kindness, but I saw the devil horns. Anyway, she put in a plea for me because I would not put a plea in.
Good. And
she sent me to another court. So both these were in Beverly Hills court. Then she sends me, I rejected everything, did what I was supposed to do, but you know how they are. Because that was her friend. I knew she was going to do me wrong. I said, this is because I wrote that letter to those higher ups. Anyway, they transferred me to Santa Monica court. And I couldn't figure out why. This guy was, oh my gosh, he had devil horns everywhere on him. He was terrible. He gave me the hardest time. I made him state it was a criminal court on the record. The officer, it was time for me to ask him questions. I said, officer, at the time of the stop, did you see me damage property or injure anyone while you were present? He said, and I said the wrong date, but he says, on such and such a date, no. I said, thank you. So the judge was like, is there anything else? I said, oh no, I have everything I need now because I have it on record. I didn't commit a crime. So he had no reason to stop me. He had no reason to put on his emergency lights which were for felony.
Right.
They're only pulling you. They have to have a warrant for your arrest or probable cause. I
Mhm.
explained to the officer when he pulled me over, this is private property. I'm not a driver, not for hire. I do have private plates on my car, the same ones David has. I've been having those on for years. And I haven't had any issues in years until
Do your
this
plates say,
particular cop
Jackie?
stopped me. They're private, PR1 V4T3, the same
Uh-huh.
exact ones that David has. So
Yep. And I
people
have
think I
them.
work for the government.
I've got the same set of plates. So yes.
Yes, yeah, they're great. I love them. And
Mhm.
then anyway, it's just been a whole fiasco. So now I really feel that when I go, this rebutting the 12 presumptions is going to alleviate a whole lot of foolishness.
I think so too. That's good.
Well, you're fighting the good fight, and I think they know that you're a threat. That's what it sounds like to me. Robert, I'd love to hear from you, Robert. You went ahead and posted those 12 presumptions, but I'd love to hear, what your familiarity with them is and what you've learned about them. It's very fascinating, Jackie. This 12 presumptions is the exact opposite what we the people would expect or guess.
No, absolutely. God is good. I always pray for truth, and it was one night late. I started looking around and flipping through videos on YouTube, and I found this guy, and then I just started going on and on and on. Anyway, it's all good, and I like to share so people know. But I believe those are what's going to stop a lot of people from having issues and getting rejected in court because they go by that one. That is their oath. The thing about it is too is what for people to know when you go to court, because you want to know which one which one are they under? You know what I'm saying?
That's
Would it be
right.
good,
Is there
Jackie?
is
Thanks
there
for mentioning that. Yeah, I want to mention something with Jackie because this is all about practicing, right? People have a law practice, they have a medicine practice, and this is what we're doing. We're learning these different approaches. And so I had heard about those assumptions, but yeah, you said you're up, I think, in the next week or two. So I look forward to hearing, on the
Thursday.
next month
Day after-
call,
yeah.
Thursday, 2 days
Yeah.
away,
Mhm.
how it goes and maybe take some notes because, yeah, we're all looking for, I don't think there is a silver bullet, but there are tendencies, and you'd be curious to know about this. These 12 presumptions. Yeah, it seems to be that they are presuming those things, and if we rebut them, then I would like to know how they respond and if they dismiss your case or what happens.
Yeah, I'm curious too. And at the end of the day, if they don't, I'm gonna keep going up because I
Oh.
know I'm right. You know what I'm saying? If you let them walk on you, they're gonna keep doing it.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. That's how I've always done things. And of course, whenever I go into court, I always take in my paperwork and I never say anything. I don't even answer any of the judge's questions or whomever is sitting at the judge's desk. Never answer any of their questions. I always read from my paperwork because that's so important. You don't want to give them any ammunition. You want to be able to read things that are absolutely true, and they're always in your paperwork. So that's how I've always done that.
Absolutely. I'm gonna let them know too. I stand on my brief and my motions.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I mean, there was never a prosecutor at any of the sessions. There was never a court reporter, all these due process violations. Never.
Right.
There was never a victim.
Okay.
No one with a verified complaint, nothing.
Okay. The thing is that since it's under statute doesn't have that. That's the reason the U.S. Supreme Court has stated that the statutes do not apply to the people because there is no due process. And they state that in the court cases.
But at the end of the day, I am one of the people, and I'm
Mhm.
fighting. I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. I am.
Say that again.
I am not a 14th Amendment
Good.
citizen.
Good.
I am a national. I've had my
Yep.
I went ahead and had it done, my passport and everything. And it's just my thing is, I know I'm always nervous or whatever, but I have my little notes on here, my little cheat sheet that I'm going to go on and follow, my little script. So I'll be good with this. And I'm not going to have much to say because it was no prosecutor there. And I wrote that in the appeal and everything.
Good.
And of course, they did not respond. They did
Mhm.
not respond to my brief. Of course not. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Because they couldn't.
No,
They
they can't.
couldn't.
Mm-mm,
So
they can't.
on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, they say after 2 o'clock, they'll give me some kind of preliminary, I guess, whatever,
Mhm.
to what I'll have to look for on that day. But I can't wait to spring this on them about the presumptions. I can't wait. I can't.
That is really good. And I'd like to have you share that with me. I'd love to see your brief.
Oh, for sure.
That's one of
Okay.
the benefits of the free traveler membership, is that you get to participate in these monthly confabs. You get to be on our private Telegram study group to share every day, all day long, as much as you like, what's going on, ask questions. And you also get to share in a document repository where students will put their documents as for your review. You can check them out. You can borrow from them. Sometimes students put them up there and ask for specific comments and feedback so that they can improve their documents. We're going to do this together, and the Commoner Law Group is here to create the structures and the supports needed for you all to take the reins of we the people and show up in full when it comes to freedom to travel. And so, for example, 12 presumptions is something fascinating that's come out of this confab that was not planned. It's because it came from you. And Robert Moore, as I was saying just a minute ago, went and posted for us those 12 presumptions. And I'd just love to hear from you, Robert. Where did you get those? What do you think? How do you think people should read them? If I should share them, what's the context we should give to make sure they're understood and received powerfully?
Well, I have a database. I use DevonThink, so I have about 60,000 documents in my database, so I can look them up fairly quickly. I've seen these before. I studied the language quite a bit, and I apply it in my papers. You know, my wife and I are like what Anna said. We've been hitting our heads against the wall for 30 years, and nothing seems to work. But as I read through these, I've never applied them before, but as I read through them right now, each one of them are issues that I've experienced, and I'm doing a brief before the Ninth Circuit right now, and I think well, it's kind of late to get those in there, but the one thing that I do is every time I do a motion or there's a declaration required, I state that my name is such as Robert Moore, and I am a man living under the natural law. And I think that kind of addresses some of those, but I believe that each one of these elements should be in some type of verified or declaration when you commence a proceeding. And what I've realized lately, because I've done motions to quash service of summons in Hawaii, Northern and Southern California, Nevada, and Washington. And the procedures seem to be the same. And we've filed numerous complaints. And in Hawaii, this was back in, I think, 2012, somewhere around there. I was helping a guy, and we decided to go get a certified copy of the summons. And he was pretty hard set. He stood there, and they got all upset when he wanted a copy of that summons certified. And over an hour it took him, but eventually we got it. And so it has to be signed by a judge and by the clerk, certifying that the summons is what's in the record. Well, his case was immediately dismissed. And what I've noticed is that all these summons that are issued, they never a copy never really leaves the file. It just it stays there. So we just filed the case recently, and the summons they issued to us is not sealed, but it was served like that. So.
Can I ask you a question? Are you a bar lawyer, or are you just
No. I'm not. I do have a law degree, but we out of necessity had to start defending ourselves because just so many different cases, and it started out with real estate. So
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, many people come to the ultimate freedom of we the people through many different areas, and then it starts to spread out into other different areas. How about you? Have
Yeah.
you gotten a speeding ticket recently?
I think the last time was in '97, 2 tickets, and so they put me. I had actually surrendered the license to them, but apparently it was still within that 4-year time period. So they convicted me of 2 counts of driving with a suspended license.
Mm.
And at that time I was in the middle of a move and I had no documentation to help me. So I spent 4 months, and so I haven't had one since then. And I was stopped once in Texas, but nothing happened to that.
Wow. Okay, good. Yeah, it's actually, I love what you just said. You know, I mean, I'm sorry that you were moving and you didn't have documents available to you. We're going to have a workshop coming up in April where we're going to go through all of the documents needed to get them off your back after you get a ticket. And
Well, I'm interested in going on the offensive and going after their bonds, and trespass. I think is one of the biggest complaints that should be alleged against them. And I think that these things in this presumptions have to be in a declaration, a sworn declaration, that you go before a magistrate, and when you present your complaint, I think we're doing it all wrong. They're having these motions to dismiss proceedings. Basically, they are, from what I see, are like a probable cause hearing to determine whether your complaint states a claim for relief. So we should go before the magistrate when we file the complaint, present it to the clerk, and then have the clerk witness our statements, and then or ask to go before the magistrate and get the warrant issued, so that it actually leaves the courthouse, so that you can take a copy to the sheriff and have it served.
I have a question. Okay, do you know what magistrate means?
Well, any officer authorized to take an oath.
Yes.
And he also has the ability to determine probable cause.
Right.
Or has the authority to determine whether there's probable cause.
Most people don't know that, though. So I wanted to make sure that you explained what that was, because that's very important, because not just everybody is a magistrate, and it doesn't mean it's a judge.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing yourself with us all. We're getting to know each other, folks. Look at this. Look at the kind of folks that are here today. You know, deep experience in the trenches, and learning through experience. And it's wonderful that you could share that. He was saying how he was moving one time and didn't have those documents. So when the document workshop comes up in April, look for that in your inbox. The invitation is going to be a 4-week series. We're going to, in the first week, discuss the whole context of how it is that you can present this paperwork to the authorities and how it works to get them off your back. And then we're going to go through the paperwork itself. We're going to go through document by document, paragraph by paragraph, so that you are absolutely 100% clear about everything that's in it. And at the same time, you'll be editing it to personalize it for you, so that when and if you ever do get a ticket, you'll be able to leap into action right away, because you'll have those documents on your hard drive already customized as much as you need to. And you'll have those handy. You'll understand what they mean and what their purpose is. So in the 4 weeks, we're going to go through all the documents, and then finally talk about also a lot of details about how to serve them, you know, through registered mail, different kinds, lots of different questions that we know you'll have about the actual mechanism of delivering the paperwork. So look forward to that. It's going to be the document workshop for getting them off your back, and really excited about that. That's included in your free traveler lifetime membership. Okay, so let's hear some more voices. What do you say, Ben?
Well, I was here. I had a question for some tickets that I got regarding registration and license and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see if we can get that answered.
So I guess kind of the template I have right now is to submit 3 motions to appear by special appearance, one for lack of subject matter jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction, and then improper venue, and then file a mail fraud complaint. So that's kind of the template I've been given, and I was just seeing if, what others had to say about that as far as kind of a general approach.
Yeah, anyone have any comments for, I thought maybe David might, even Teresa could. Sue-Ann surely has something to say. Shall we?
Yeah, what was the charge on that one, Ben? I like those ones. A lot of times they won't hear that, but yeah, what are the charges? A speeding ticket, you said?
No registration, no license, and then also expired license. Or I don't know if it's, yeah, I think it was just not having one, or it was like a fix-it ticket or whatever. Honestly, I have so many, I forgot like all of them.
I like
understand.
I like the one where you said that it was a fix-it ticket, because that is the only thing they can do is a fix-it ticket. If you don't have a license, the only thing they can do is a fix-it ticket. I won my ticket, my citation in El Dorado County, and I had to go to court, and I asked 5 questions of both officers, and since then they no longer want you to use the vehicle code to protect yourself, because from there you can ask all kinds of great questions, and if they don't understand them, they lose. And I did really well. I had no license, I had no registration on my car, and they lost because they couldn't answer the questions in the DMV. Okay. So yes, there are so many different things that are out there that you can do. The thing is that I like working with what is called the conditional acceptance, and they can never answer those. And I have some of them are 40, but I have a couple that are over 60. And when I do the courtesy letter, then I send them something that says, well, 60 is not very many, because if you have to go to court and they are doing discovery, the attorney will provide you with a questions that are over 200 for discovery. So 60 is not very many, and I think you need to respond to them. And they never do. And I had one person who did this, that not only did he not go to court, but it was a felony for his ticket. And when he finally was stopped again, about a year and a half later, just because he didn't go to court, they did not take him to jail, because they didn't have a warrant for him, and his plates were expired, his driver's license was expired, and they let him go. So once you get yourself in a place where they don't want to talk to you anymore, they just let you go. They won't tell you they're letting you go because of this paperwork, but they will leave you alone.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah, thanks Ben for bringing that forward. You sound like you're in I love that attitude. He's in the thick of it. He's ready to take them on. It's come what may. Figure it out as you go, learn as you go. Definitely appreciate that very much. In fact, that's why we created the Free Traveler Lifetime Membership Program, because we know that this is a lifetime journey. And you can get more information at commonerlaw.com, but just so you know, it's a full package. You get law classes. So particularly the Don't Fear the DMV course is perfect for Bennett. It sounds like he kind of already gets a lot of the points that we make in terms of the fraud that it is, but you'll also learn a lot, Ben, there in terms of substance, in terms of what you can do about it. And we're going to have some special guest interviews. We're going to have, as I said earlier, a document repository where students can put their documents. Ben, you can put your documents up there and share them with others. Maybe you want to get some feedback from people about them. And then we'll have the document workshop coming up. And that document workshop is going to teach you specifically what to do when you get a ticket. And then this monthly online gathering is something you also get as a part of the free traveler lifetime membership. And also a discussion group, private discussion group. It's just dedicated to the study of freedom to travel, the right to travel. So you can get more information, listen to the introductory video about the free traveler on our homepage, commonlaw.com. Let's see how many people's voices we can get in. Let us know what you want to contribute to this confab. Dawn. thanks for
Hello.
waiting.
How you guys doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, fighting a good fight. Okay, so a couple things that I just want to bring to your attention. So I became a national in January. And so we've been trying to fight to get all of our rights back and everything. And the first thing that we're going to do is actually go to the sheriffs and kind of go over what a national is, so that when their cops pull us over, we've kind of already put them on notice as to our status. But we were told that if an officer pulls you over, that you basically, give him, because I ended up getting a passport card. And so that should show my status. But if he comes back being belligerent, that we are to just say, okay, thank you very much, officer. And we are to sign under duress, UCC 1-308, which actually can work in any contracts, signing a check, basically signing anything documentation wise, it should be of good use. But if you put that and then sign your name over that, it's supposed to protect you. It's basically saying, I'm not guilty, but I'm not going to fight with you about it right here, right now. So I'm going to take you to court and we're going to fight about it there, because you really don't want to, pick a fight with a cop with a gun in his holster. So,
So you sign the ticket a certain way, right?
yeah. So you write under duress, UCC 1-308, and then you sign your name over it, so they can't take it out. They can't like Xerox and do a bunch of tomfoolery with that on there. So you just kind of sign your name into where you write under duress in the UCC number.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that UCC. What does UCC stand for? For those who don't know.
Yeah, so it's a uniform commercial code. And 1-308, basically, there is a section here that tells about it. It's basically, so it says, when you sign all your rights reserved, UCC 1-308, it's as if you are saying, I am signing this document, but I cannot be legally held accountable or responsible for something that I did not expressly or intentionally agree to. So it works for tickets. It works for like a contract. If you're signing a contract with somebody, if they've put some kind of, hidden loophole in there, whatever, and you put all rights reserved, UCC 1-308, that will protect your rights. So if you do take it into court, it's not going, that contract is pretty much null and void if there is any kind of trickery, as they usually love to do, using equivocal language to mess us up.
So yeah, but it's especially for people who are new to this topic, they might think it's unusual to consider a commercial code or contract law as relevant at all to a infraction, a speeding ticket, for example. So how is it that this UCC has any significance for a traffic ticket, for example?
Well, because a traffic ticket is basically when you're signing your name, you're basically agreeing to whatever they're saying that you just did.
Mhm.
And so when you go into court and you try to fight it, they're going to say, well, you put your name on the ticket and you agreed to it. Well, it's because they kind of forced you to think that you had to put your name on it. And sometimes you actually do, because officers, they had a bad day or whatever, and they just want to throw someone up against a car. And you really just don't want to do that. And so it's best to just comply with what they're telling you to do, but you do that under duress to protect you and your rights later on when you take them to court.
Okay, great.
And
Let's
one
do-
more thing that
Before you move on to that, I think Suen had a comment. Is that right, Suen?
Yeah, I do have a comment. Okay. In the 90s, okay, that UCC used to be 1-207.
Yep. 7. Yep.
Okay. And I used to use that and it didn't work. And so what I did is that I would put TDC and my name. And TDC is threat, duress, and coercion. Okay.
Okay.
And that would work. But the UCC never did work for me. But I know someone who has done that on their driver's license. Okay.
Yeah, so do I.
And rather than on the ticket. But I never ever did anything more than TDC on any of my tickets. Never had a problem. I've always won my case in court. So that probably can help, but it isn't the only thing available to you, because there are so many other ways that you can do it, and you do not have to put in the UCC. UCC is for commercial. And if you are commercial, that's great. But if you're not commercial, then it's doesn't work quite well. So, and like I said, I have the only thing I've ever put on mine is TDC. I've never done the UCC at all. And that was something that I recognized when I was doing my travel stuff in the 90s, is that they get to the place where they just ignore. They even got to the place where they wouldn't even allow you to use the vehicle code to protect yourself, which if you understood the vehicle code, you can see where it doesn't apply to you in any way, shape, or form. And they didn't want that because it affects their bottom line, which is money. And that's what they're after. They're just after the money. They don't care whether or not you are in a commercial activity or not. They just want the money.
Well, doesn't that make it a commercial contract then? Because
Well,
it's not stopping you for a violation per se. It's,
right.
it's basically
Yes, but
money.
the only time you use UCC is if you're doing something commercially. And since you're not, if you use it, then it kind of says you're in it.
Right. I think that's the important thing, because I've done this before too. And actually one of my charges I'm facing right now is signing the wrong signature. Because one time, I think under duress is probably the best thing for me in my experience. But again, this is trial and error. You see what works.
Yep.
One time multiple times I wrote declined, and then the officer literally looked at it and he said, "Is that your signature?" And I looked in the face and said, "Yep." And then he went back to the DMV database to his computer in his car, and he says, "Oh, sir, that doesn't appear to be your real signature. So I'm going to cite you for signing a false signature." And I can't remember what the charge is, these cockamamie charges, but it is like wrong signature effectively. And so I was like, and I was surrounded by a few cops. I'm like, okay, I'll sign in my name. And I think I did put under duress. So I think that putting under duress is very solid, because that is true. Yeah, I think there's a California code, and just of course common law in general. If somebody signs a contract under duress, the contract is null and void. It now it nullifies that contract. So this is some of the truth that's rising, so that when someone says, like you said, you have guys with guns around you. I don't want to hold court with these cops, in the morning, the afternoon, whatever, on the side of the road. God bless these cops, but they don't know the law. They're not trained. They're kept in their compartmentalized phase, as Sue Ann says, for revenue generation. And I think that's why this is so important, what we're doing, because we are actually providing the pathway and or solutions to put an end to the extortion. And this is they don't like that. So the safety and strength is in the community, so we can hear different angles. And then, as you guys know, who are in the arena of the court and all these things, and when you're in the arena, there's nobody there. It is you and your body and your spirit and your truth. That's all you have. And so we want to be able to stand on the honor and integrity that you forced me to sign this contract, sir. And also, one of the key phrases, and we'll take the next question here with you, Clint. I ask him, I say, and I stay calm. I say, well, officer, it feels like you're forcing me to sign this. What happens if I don't sign this ticket? And then they will articulate the violence which they're going to perpetuate on you, which is, well, if you don't sign that, I got to take you to jail. And I would say, oh, so you're going to unlawfully, take me away, unlawfully arrest me? Now I will sign it under coercion, under duress. And then if he's wearing a body cam, that's on video. Or if you have your dash cam or you have your audio recording, which I highly recommend, minimum, you got to have an audio recording, ideally a video recording, every single interaction with cops, right to travel or not. And this is the only way we can keep them accountable. But that way you have it on the record. If you ever go to trial or it's ever submitted in the court, Your Honor, the only reason I signed this promise to appear is because he said he was going to arrest me. I got my child in the back, or I got to go to work or whatever. So it's just always good if you stay calm, and women have it a lot easier, is that, what if I don't sign it? What are you going to do to me if I don't do that, sir? And you're going to expose the violence and then get out of there safely. But yeah, that's a great point about under duress. I think that's probably what I would do going forward. I don't want to converse with you guys about the law. They don't know the law, but I will sign under duress. For the record, you forced me to sign this, brother. I didn't do it of my own volition, and that should nullify the contract.
It does.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you actually ask specifically, so they verbalize the threat, and so it's not a controversy any longer. And you're right, that video recording is a game changer. And if you want to see David's interactions with police officers at the roadside, the ones that worked, amazing work, and then the one that didn't work. And you can, during our course, where this video, where we go through the video and we talk about what works and what doesn't work, because we don't know. Sometimes you say something to the cop that appeals to their oath to the Constitution, or to their common sense, or to their connection to God, somehow appeal to them, and it works. It can work. We have examples of it working, and then we have examples of it not working. And so you can check that out at the Don't Fear the DMV course, part of your free traveler lifetime membership.
I just wanted to read something, just a short little paragraph, because when I sent my affidavit into the DMV to let them know my new citizenship status, they wrote me back a rather rude letter.
Oh,
yeah, fun times. And it was basically blatant tyranny that they were putting on paper. And funny enough, they did not sign it.
Oh, they never will.
Yep, I never will.
And they won't put their name. They won't put their name. They'll put the Department of Motor Vehicles manager. It's just like, you cowards, man. Absolute cowards.
No. So it says, every person within the boundaries of the state of California is subject to its laws and must comply with the California requirements for licensing, registration, and insurance in order to operate a motor vehicle on public roads. Under California law, driving a vehicle is a privilege granted by the state through its power to regulate traffic. It is not a right, regardless of whether the travel is for personal use or commercial gain. DMV does not have the authority to exempt you from licensing and registering laws. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my, you did not just write that.
Yeah, well, they do. Trust me.
What state are
That's
you
why
in,
they didn't
Don?
put their
I'm
name.
in California.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they didn't put their
I would love
name.
if you could forward that to me, and then put that in our document repository as part of the.
Yeah, and
travel.
I'm working on a rebuttal letter, even though they said that they will not expend any further resources responding to my future correspondence. Yeah, we'll see about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I think
Well,
I got that same one, Don. I think I got that same one because I sent some CC documents to the Department of Motor Vehicles and such. And I think they sent me the same one, but they didn't put their name on it because they don't want to put their own personal
course.
liability and responsibility on it. It's just like the department. It's like, that's when you know it's Terry. Same thing with fast track and the red light tickets. You got to pay fast track. And it's like the corporation is like, where's the human sending this to me? And
Yep.
again, that's a sign. And this is probably how the fascist dictatorship stuff happens, is that nobody's responsible, but you have to do it, or we're going to take your money, and we're going to take your person or whatever. So so important to call it out and hear how it goes when you do rebut that.
You see, this is how terrorists act. They put a cloak around their face so you can't see who they are. And then they terrorize you. And that's exactly what they're doing. I'm glad that they sent this to me. Now I'm going to use this as evidence to come against them. So
good.
Good, thanks,
Yay.
Don. That's fantastic. Yeah, I hope you join us. Are you a free traveler member?
I'm not sure. I signed up for the information because my job is, pushing the vaccine and stuff. So I signed up for that whole series. But I don't think I did the free traveler, but I think I might look into that.
Yeah, you sound like you're one of us. Again, we're in this together, and
Yes.
And
we're doing the same thing. I have my own group kind of going out, and it's trial and error, and you learn by just going out and doing it and reporting back and saying this works, this doesn't, and then coming together to find a way to help somebody else. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we could even just, you and me and Suanne and David, we could just do a quick hour-long maybe session on the document you just read and tear it apart, go through it, because it kind of reveals a lot about who they think they are and their relationship to us. The difference between privileges and rights is there. The idea that they don't have the authority to give you any,
I know.
which is just another way of saying we're just doing our job. We've heard that before. So yeah, I'd love to have you be with us, and that's for all the students. The Commoner Law Group is here as well to promote advanced students to turn around and share what you've learned to others, and that way we grow faster. We don't have enough specialists, and that's okay, because the next one can teach the next one, and if you know a little bit more, you can turn around and teach the others. And we're just like
lots of testimonials. That's what's going to get more people to go out and get their rights back.
Exactly. I look at everyone here as an early adopter, people who just get it, who are ready to be the avant-garde and to fight the tyranny, no matter what, just because that's who you are. You really can't be with yourself in any other way. But yes, then there's a whole other group of people who are kind of waiting to see, how does it work? They want to put their toe in the water.
There's pioneers, and then there's those that come after the pioneers.
Exactly. So yeah, everyone's welcome here, and whether you're a pioneer or ones who come after, and we'd love to have success stories for you, but mostly success comes in forms that aren't exactly obvious. Sometimes the case will just be dropped and they won't even tell you, or they might just retire early and say they're doing it for personal reasons after you've already put them on notice. And it's not like they put on a big front page ad in the paper saying, hey, I got caught. I was perpetrating a fraud. You caught me. You're right. I was relying on your ignorance and using intimidation to profit myself. You caught me. We won't do it again. That's not usually what success looks like. Success looks like they just drop the case, or things just go away, and we'll take it. We'll take it. So when people ask, does it work? That's I got to actually make sure that they understand what working looks like. So again, thanks, Don, and really I hope you check out on commonerlaw.com our free traveler lifetime membership, and all
Nice.
the courses that are included, as well as this monthly confab, your private study group, and a document repository you can use to share your documents with others. All right, so I'm going to take a minute to introduce a very special guest, Teresa Buccola. It's relevant to what we were just talking about, because Teresa is not only a quick study and an advanced student, she's like raced to the head and to the point where she literally in the last 2 years has become a role model for all of us. So Teresa and I put together the Liberty Warrior course, Rid Your Town of Tyrants, to focus on her story, how she has succeeded in ridding her town of tyrants. And so Teresa, I just want to give you that special introduction, let everyone know that you're here with us tonight. And I would love to hear anything you have to share about what it is to rid your town of tyrants and what they did to you folks in closing down the beach because of the pandemic and what you said about it. But if you have some specifics about what you really have come to learn about the true nature of the courts nowadays, or about free travel in particular, just whatever you want to offer us.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Clint. And before I go on, because I do have a few ideas about these traffic stops, that a huge part of the reason for why I've been so successful is because of the tutelage of Sue Ann. So she's been incredibly patient with me, which she reminds me of all the time. Because I was incredibly stubborn at the beginning.
Yes.
And I really let my Italian temper get the better of me. But I've learned to keep myself very calm and cool. And I wanted to tell people about an interaction that I had with an officer recently who called up and started harassing my friend about a so-called warrant. So he wound up getting very, very angry at this officer. And I called him, it was Officer Lorios in Scotts Valley. And I said, hey there, my name is Teresa. I am assistant of counsel for so-and-so. I was wondering if you had a couple of minutes, because I would like to sort of teach you about these so-called warrants that politicians have duped you into believing has any force in law. Do you have a few minutes? And sort of to my, I don't know why I should be surprised about this, but he was open to it. And I said, are you aware of Civil Code of Procedure number 14, where the seal of the court must be embossed upon the paper as well as upon a wax wafer? Are you aware of this government code 6067? And he said, excuse me, what was that? So now he's taking notes. And I said, are you okay if I send you an email? Because you guys might make mistakes and you've been tricked into believing that these warrants have any force in law. And sometimes we're going to have to spend a night in jail and it's not good for you because you guys get sued and we have to be incarcerated. So maybe we can work together to sort of dispel all the lies. So it's 5 minutes and he heard what I was saying. He took notes and I followed up with an email. And then I also wanted to tell people about what happened when I got to the garage during the second arrest. So I was handcuffed in the back of the police car. And I was saying to Officer Maldonado, do you think that the politicians that have passed these laws are going to care about whether or not you violate them or you get sued? Are you aware of what Title 18-241 is, conspiracy against rights? Are you familiar with Title 42, deprivation of rights under color of law? Do you know that these are criminal offenses? And at some point he said, I didn't arrest you. I didn't arrest you. And I was honestly so traumatized by what happened that I didn't remember that he was part of the brutality. He arrested me. And I realized, and he also said, as he looked down at the ground, while I'm shackled like a slave in the back of the police car, he said, I think you're trying to manipulate me. So believe it or not, I was scaring the police officer into denying what he had done because I gave him knowledge and he realized that he was in ignorance. He was like a child getting caught trying to steal a cookie from the cookie jar by his parents. And he goes, I didn't know, I didn't steal. So I've watched the arrest ever since then. He was just as guilty as Officer Boucher. And so one idea that I have about these traffic stops that I've just developed within the past week, certainly you don't want to give up your rights. You don't want to have to sign, because your signature is your private property and it does have worth when it is connected to the birth bond, but you also don't want to go to jail. And so if I was able to combine both of those experiences that I just told people about, as the officer walks up to your window, you're going to lock your doors, you're going to keep it open a crack. Hello, officer, I just want to let you know in advance that I am not involved in transportation of cargo or passengers. I am not engaged in commerce. May I have your name and badge number? And he'll say, can I have your driver's license, registration, and insurance? And I'll say, I'm going to invoke my Fourth Amendment right to be secure in my person's house's papers and effects. And no, I'm not going to give you my papers. The whole time, just be calm. And he's probably going to escalate. And you could say, Officer Davis, badge number 123, I just want to notify you that you are on a live stream right now. And so this is being recorded. I also want to let you know of your rights, that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do this evening, which violates my rights, you can and will be held accountable in a court of law. You have the right to remain silent. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be assigned. So I just think that's kind of interesting because this whole thing is psychological warfare.
Uh-huh.
And then, so now what I've started to do is I carry a folder with me in my car, and one of them in California is Penal Code 849. And that is an arrest that is made without a warrant, that he must take you directly to a magistrate, and I will slip that through to him through the crack. If you have these so-called warrants, most of us don't have warrants. We have defective written instruments that have issued by administrators that attempt to encourage ignorant public servants to commit the crimes of kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment. So you'll slip them the penal code through that says, the officer, according to the warrant, must bring the arrestee to the magistrate. Are you aware of what these are? Do you know if there's a magistrate on duty? Do you know if that warrant is permissible for nighttime service? Let me also slip you a copy of 241, 242. And then I think that would be really devastating is if you hand them a Title 42 lawsuit that you have filed against previous police officers that have violated your rights.
Mm-hmm. Great.
You can say something to them like, officer, you have been lied to. I have been lied to. You're not permitted to force me to give you my paperwork. I really encourage you to share that. First of all, please go back to your police car and read what it is that I've given you. I want to be able to educate you as well as all the other guys that you're working with. So, and if you decide to come back and violate my rights, I do not consent, but you have free will. You're going to do what you need to do. Chances are, because I now know who I am and I have so much knowledge that they are beginning to be very afraid of me.
Mm-hmm. They are.
So I am now free. And what I assume he's going to do when he comes back from his car, he's going to say, ma'am, thank you very much. And I'll say, officer, please take that copy with you. And if you can disseminate that, make copies of it, disseminate it to your fellow officers so that we can all work together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much and good night.
Excellent.
So that's what I would recommend that everybody starts doing. Carry these penal codes in your car. Carry a copy of Title 241 and 242. If you're filing a federal lawsuit, have it in the car on your passenger seat. That one he can't take with him. But because in my experience so far, these guys just don't know what it is. They don't know what it is that they're doing wrong.
No.
They don't know that they must exercise their Fifth Amendment right to due process before they take you to jail. Slip them a copy of your Fifth Amendment right through the crack in the window. And, you know, in a certain sense, it's also because you want to help them so that we can all work together and free ourselves.
I agree.
That would be one of the strategies that I would recommend, and read them their Miranda rights. You're gonna be like, oh, man.
You're the queen of turning the table on these folks. It's for a lot of it, it's like, wait a minute, how do you think of these things? Because what you're trying to do is apply the rules on them. They have as much rules to control their behavior, to order their behavior, as they try to put on us. The difference is we're not subject to the rules, they are.
Correct. Oh, and I also, you know, I also wanted to say something like, you know, don't let the dilapidated car fool you. I'm a very wealthy woman. I do not hire attorneys. My rights are a gift from God, and I take their protection very seriously. And I know who I am, and I know what my rights are.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
So,
Wow.
yeah, hopefully that will help people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Teresa. Check out the Liberty Warrior course with you. It's a 6-week course where you go through all of Teresa's story from when she was first arrested and didn't know a lot about this. But as we know, right, Teresa, they messed with the wrong woman.
They did.
And so you set to work to research and discover everything you need to turn the tables on them. And what an amazing story it is. You folks definitely want to be inspired by how she grew and changed and learned and became a model for all of us. And then the course itself contains all of those weapons, we ended up calling them weapons, to defeat these tyrants in your town. Literally make them quit and or retire early. They don't like the heat. They'll go work for another city to try to get a pension in some other place. They have little schemes and little corruptions that they have, and they're vulnerable and they can't handle any sunlight on them. So Teresa's taken that to the limit, to the fullest, and you want to be educated and inspired by her. So check out that course. The introduction's on our homepage at commonerlaw.com, and there's a registration link right next to it. Again, thanks, Teresa, and thanks for coming tonight, because freedom to travel is so critical. Actually, I created this course because I knew that David and Sue Ann had deep knowledge about it, and I had to bring it to people. But the more I'm with them, the more I realize that I've been not prioritizing the freedom to travel as much. I mean, sure, we have problems with freedom of speech, and we have problems with freedom of assembly, and we have problems with freedom of religion. We have a lot of attacks on our fundamental natural rights. But the freedom to travel, I mean, come on. We have to be able to go from here to there without asking permission of the state, I think.
Also, you know, I forgot to add this, that a lot of these guys are ignorant, and we want to help them to understand. And then there's others that are just predators, and they're looking for easy prey. But you really have to elevate yourself to a place where if you run into a tyrant, then you're going to become the predator. And you can't fake that. You know, it's almost like they're going to smell it or something on you. And you'll wear your armor of God. Of course, you have the right to travel down the road. You don't have to have a slave tax. You know, one of the reasons that my car got stolen is because I had expired tags, and I had gotten inspired from David to do it. And I'm really glad that I did, even though it was a temporary discomfort, because I'm learning so much. And it's also a huge part of, you know, my experience with David, both David and Sue Ann. So, yeah.
Yeah, and in that spirit, we offer a free lifetime membership to the Free Traveler Program to all law enforcement agents. So if you know anybody out there, we are actively making it easy as possible for law enforcement agents to come to terms with their actual role and to restore them to honor that they so much often claim. So yeah, so if anybody knows a law enforcement officer is curious, wants to learn finally once and for all the proper role with police, send them our way. Can you imagine joining us here on a monthly confab with a law enforcement agent who's
Right. And I think I'll have a comment there and we'll maybe have some more questions here. But the fact that like somebody mentioned that to me some years ago and I said, is that true? Right to travel stuff? And I dug a little bit deeper and I said, okay. And then we started doing it. And then what's so great with like Teresa is that we were having weekly bonfires. And so we had a time to get together and actually share ideas. And I was sharing what happened this week or what happened in the previous weeks. And so that's just the importance of community. And then you can have people show up for you, whether digital or in physical reality. But to be by ourselves, this is what the last 2 years has been about, partly is the isolation. You feel by yourself, you feel like one unit. So I can't do it alone, but we can. And this is safety and strength in numbers. So you have Sue Ann's paperwork and Teresa's paperwork, and we had Rick Martin on here, and he had some paperwork. And so it's like, okay, you got to take, and the other guy mentioned the mail fraud paperwork. Yeah, it's all fraud. It's all trespassing. It's all extortion. And so the more that we have the documents, and then you hear different testimonials, as we say, it's like, oh my gosh, I think I've been defrauded. I think I've been deceived. And these officers are just doing the best that they can. But, to be isolated is very disempowering, but to unite it and find common ground, that I should have same vigor that Teresa has with protecting my God-given rights or protecting my life, protecting my body. So
thanks so much, David. Let's go to Dale now. Dale, thanks for hanging in there. I see you just wrote a comment to me about having just received a citation of your first citation. Tell us about it.
Saturday night, I got my first citation while learning to travel free. I had corrected my status last year, and so we hadn't been updating our tags on my vehicle, but my headlight was out, and it was at night. And of course, hardly any traffic on the road, and I got stopped. And so he goes through the spiel, driver's license. So I gave him my, who I really am. I'm a Iowan and all that kind of stuff, and I'm traveling, and I'm not in contract today. And so we go through all that, and I get the citation, and it has a number and a barcode, and there's no signature by him, no signature by me that I'm accepting anything. And so today I went in and did I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but David Straight talks about the right to rescind within 72 hours. And so I did that today. And of course, they had no idea what I was doing, but they said, she talked to her advisor and said I could do that. So I haven't found out yet how that's going to turn out, but so
yeah, let's talk a little about the right to rescind. It came up in our Don't Fear the DMV course. We talked about it quite a bit. We've heard some mixed results with that, but just go ahead and describe what the strategy is.
Well, the strategy is so I didn't give up my right to go into court, if she asked that. So by doing this, are you giving up your right to a court date? And I said, no. I said, I want this to go through and see how that turns out. So I'm totally new to this, but so I'm learning. So it's fun to hear all you people, what you've gone through and the experiences you've had. And so I'm hoping by your experiences, to be able to help me through this.
Dale, can I ask, are you in California?
No, I'm in Minnesota.
Okay, well, for anybody that's in California, it's Government Code 1689, which is rescission, your right to rescind your signature on a contract if it's under threat, duress, and coercion. And there must be something, similar in Minnesota.
Okay, yeah, because the assembly that I'm a part of, they said that you got to do that within 72 hours. And of course, I didn't actually sign anything on the citation. I didn't even know there was a fine because there is no. And I said that to the sheriff. I said, well, this is not a bill. There's no fine on here. There's just 2 citations. And like I said, where's your signature? And he just said, well, my name's on there. And from what I've understood, there should be a signature by the sheriff and by me approving the contract. So I went to the clerk of court saying, well, I didn't want a citation to be on my name. So I thought I'll just go in and rescind it. And here it turns out they had a fine listed on there. And I said to the gal, well, how can that be? He never informed me that there was a fine. And he never, he said there was 2 citations, but he didn't say there was no dollar amount for either one. So I'm wondering how this is going to turn out, but I did it according to how David Straight told us to do it. So
good for you, Dale. We'd love to again to hear from you how it goes. So that's why we have these regular meetings. That's why we have the free traveler program, so you can get on our private discussion group and share with people and learn from people. So I hope you join us for the free traveler. It's people like you for whom we designed it. Like, we had people exactly like you in mind in designing it. So I really hope you join us. Let's hear from Private Nobody. I remember you've been on one of our meetings before. My name is unforgettable. Do you want to say your real name or why you like to use it?
Oh, yes. No, there is no problem here. And there's a few people here that know me, namely Robert and also Daniel. And it's another name here that I believe may know me, but I go by the name of Harold Ellis.
All right.
And like I've told you last time, I've been in this mess for about 34 years now. And I just want to make some quick comments on some of the things that were stated. The presumptions, the 12 presumption, it is vitally, vitally important, if you're going to go through that system, to dispel the presumptions, because they're loaded against you. And if you don't rebut, you admit. Failure to deny is deemed an admission. I like Sue Ann's approach, Teresa's approach, but this is the one that worked for me every time and for everybody that I work with. And a couple of things have been mentioned that goes along with what I do. One thing we don't do, we don't argue with the police officer. And just like someone just mentioned, I think it was Dale, you do have 72 hours to rescind or revoke or cancel your signature. So generally, we accept the ticket and do what Sue Ann does, but I return the ticket with conditional acceptance upon proof of claims. It works every time. It's non-combative, and it keeps the people safe, and it puts the onus on them. I mean, it works every time, never failed.
Right.
A second approach that I recently added to my repertoire in the last 3 years, I hear people say they correct their status. Incorrect. Your status never changed. You're doing a status correction of the record regarding the assigned legal person, which is normally the birth certificate, your office with regards to that birth certificate, and you don't want the office of person. You want to be a name holder, a benefactor, or attorney in fact. And we do that through the Minnesota DBA, or assumed name certificate. This is sort of like the happy medium between the private and the public. And I develop a system where I do the ANC, couple that with the passport application through an explanatory statement that details every aspect, the person, the living soul, and the office, and it has worked. They accepted it. So once you get that record from the Department of State, get a authenticated copy of it, drop that into any court case or anything that you're dealing with in the commercial realm, it makes it go away. Because they have no jurisdiction over the living. They only have jurisdiction over those legal fictions, those legal persons.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
This is great. This is wonderful information.
yes. And I want to quickly note for Dawn, and Sue Ann correctly shook her head vigorously. Don't want to use UCC 1308 or 207.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is when you use, especially after you've been sanctified or set apart, separated from the birth certificate estate, and you utilize one of their statutes, codes, rules, regulations, policies, or procedure for your benefit, you have trespassed back into their system.
Mm-hmm.
So once you're set apart, the fight begins to stay on the right side because it's so easily to be sucked back in.
Mm-hmm.
So easy. And and especially in court, because the judges are trained to bring you back.
Yeah, they are.
All right, Harold, thank you so much. Please join us. This conversation is so rich. 2 hours goes by so fast, everybody. And that's why we need you to join the private study group that we'll have. You can be in contact with each other on a daily basis. We'll be meeting here again in a month's time. Maybe so there might be a surprise. Keep your eyes out. It might be a surprise notification for another confab halfway through the month. We're going to be listening to what you need. We're going to be listening to what's showing up, the level of expertise, so we can find out what we can provide, how to support you. But in the end, it's up to we, the people, to take responsibility for all of us. And we've heard many examples tonight of people taking active responsibility for the way the law is being applied in their area.
Hi, guys.
Yes.
Very quickly, I wanted to ask, I've been getting, I'm doing the whole process with the conditional acceptance. So I recently got another ticket in the mail, and it's just for a reminder. Do I respond to those reminders that they keep sending me?
No.
No, just followed with the conditional acceptance.
Just do the entire process, okay? And the idea is that if they okay, and Portia, what was the issue on your ticket?
Well, it's speed traps. It's not red light cameras, but speed traps along the school zone in the New York.
Oh yes, okay. Well, didn't I send you that paperwork on?
I've already submitted everything. My question was just in relations to the reminders of the tickets that I'm getting. They always send you adding the late fees and saying, "Oh, you haven't paid this ticket." So I was just wondering. I don't need to respond to those reminders since we've already started the process.
Right.
Correct?
Okay.
Quick.
So thank you for everyone coming tonight. I see a lot of familiar names and a lot of new names. Again, we the people need to be we the people, and my freedom is tied up with your freedom. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, as we often do, all your microphones all at once, so that you can shout out your blessings and your thanks. And I wish you all the best things.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Clint. Thanks for
Thank
organizing
you. This is Rick.
Thanks, Clint, everyone.
Thanks, Clint, Sue Ann, David. This is Ed.
Thanks from Michigan. Hey, man. Great to be with you all. Look forward to it next month.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Good night and God bless. All right, bye-bye.
Be well, everyone.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Sue Ann.
Thank you, everyone. Blessings to everyone.
Yes.
See you guys next month.
Hard work.